does it take to be a coach? Today's game is hard. Players have more anxiety than we've ever seen. They have more voices in their head than we've ever seen. Players don't have the same level of belief in their abilities as they used to. They have the better skill. They don't have the same belief. And Coach Adam Moseley's here with me tonight. He was suspended by the Alabama High School Sports Association for coaching Team USA. I want you to think about that for a minute. Now, he's not going to say this, and he's going to turn the channel, and he's not going to say anything, but I'm going to say this. How do you take a coach that impacts lives, so many lives, and he coaches Team USA and gets suspended by the State High School Association because one of his players is on that team? It's an unfair advantage. Would they do the same thing for football? I don't think so. Would they do the same thing for basketball? I doubt it. But that's the world we live in, dealing with adversity. So, Coach, bring you on up.
Good evening, Bhrett. How are you?
Good. Now, I know you don't probably want to go into a whole lot of details on that, but let's talk about the adversity side of it.
Yeah.
How are you dealing with that? Yeah, I like that. Coach USA Baseball in Hoover High School. Let's put USA Baseball.
Look, I love, first of all, I will always take the label, both those labels down there that you've got for me, USA Baseball and Hoover High School.
I know Hoover's been behind you the whole step of the way, too.
They have, and that's been a neat thing. And I just realized what's over my shoulder. If you can't tell, my daughter got in my office today, so she's likes to draw. So, it's just an interesting. It's what the hand you're dealt sometimes. And I know the topic is adversity tonight, and man, I'm no hero or anything like that. I'm just trying. You want to set an example all the time. So.
How did you, when the news first started coming out, and there was a chance that you were going to be suspended for a year, how did you respond to that?
Well, my first thoughts went to my players, and specifically to the fact that this is a really special senior class that we have here at Hoover, and it's kind of a generational class. We're going to talk about parents at some point, whether you know it or not, because you're going to ask me about what players deal with, and it's one of those generational classes where those parents kind of see our viewpoint, and they want their kids coached hard. They want them coached the right way. And I feel, the initial feeling was, wow, I've really let these folks down. And it's a family to us, and I've let part of my family down, and that's where my heart is still today. And we have great coaches coaching our kids right now, and I still feel like I've let them down.
Where do you go from now? I mean, here you are, you're still teaching there. I mean, Hoover didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Not them. You're still serving in it. I think that's an important point to be made, is that Hoover High School has been there every step of the way. Where do you go? I mean, the outpouring of support. I mean, you got Jay Billis talking about it on.
Yeah, that was neat. The real thing, a good friend of mine, Chuck Box, has taken 2 sabbatical years in his life from coaching and just taken a year off. And this is essentially a forced sabbatical in many ways. And so I'm trying to do as much learning as I can about baseball, about life, about kids and how to teach them and coach them and everything else. And that, for me, I feel like that's what God's put it there for me, is just a chance to at least, the positive will be to learn something out of this to make myself better down the road.
Yeah. Do you, what's the long term here? I mean, is there going to be a Coach Mose rule? Is there going to be, does Team USA?
I hope, Bhrett, I hope there's some rules proposed right now in front of the High School Athletic Association, and it's up to schools to vote on them. But one of them would most certainly mean that if somebody encountered the same general thing again, the punishment would.
We're talking about the national team.
Yeah. The best of the.
Would they have done that if you were coaching an Olympic team?
Yes, that right now they did not make a distinction. So as great as you talked about the WBC when you came on just now, and as great as that event was, they wore the exact same uniforms we wore. But look, I get also that the High School Athletic Association, in a legal point of view, is limited in some ways, and so that's tough. They're in a tough spot. I understand that. I'm not trying to absolve, tell them they're not. But where do I go from here? I hope I'm coaching for a long, long time, and having the opportunity to influence some kids and set an example for my family and my kids are my daughter's about to start high school next year, so I hope I'm coaching at a school where she is where she is in school, and I look forward to that time in my life.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you want to stay in the high school ranks, or do you eventually want to end up in college? Or
Boy, I get asked that all the time. I think, I would love it. I love a great challenge, and wherever that challenge is put in front of me, I'll fully take that challenge. But one of the interesting things about college baseball right now, unless you're talking Power Five, is they're not paid great. College
mm,
baseball assistant coaches aren't paid well at all, so I've got four kids. That's my number one job, and so I need to make sure I'm
right,
able to provide for them and for my wife. And so, but you know what, coaching high school is a great challenge too, because you're just dealing with what you're given. There's no, you're not out there, shaking the bushes and finding players. You're dealing with what you get every single year. So I love the challenge of coaching, whatever the group might be, getting the most out of that group. But if college called, I certainly would listen for sure.
when you look at what the kids stress with today,
Hmm.
right? Kids are
Yeah,
under an unbelievable amount of stress, and to me, it's shocking it's shocking with the amount of things that we put on our kids.
no
Um,
doubt.
what do you how do you deal with that? I mean, how do you help create a culture? Because you don't want to. It's not about being soft on them. It's coach. What do you do?
Mm-mm. Well, I think first of all, I think kids want accountability more now than they ever have. Whether they know it or not, they thrive under it when they're given accountability, and especially when the parents support the accountability you're trying to put in place. But the biggest thing for me is to try and really define to kids what really matters. And there are so many things out there that they think coming in here matter. And it's interesting to see what they value when they come in as a freshman versus what they value when they're a senior. And that's they don't have many people that are real with them in their life, and that's my job, and that's our coaches' jobs, is to be real with them. And that doesn't mean like Tommy tough guy all the time. It just means, hey, be the anchor they can count on, that is going to always be real and tell them the truth, whether they like whether I like saying it. The hard meetings, you have to embrace the hard meetings, have them one on one. I tell people all the time, I've got a chair in my office right here. It's an orange chair, and that's where they know they can come in. They can say anything they want in this chair, and I get to respond to it and all that stuff. But they can open up about anything they want, and if they don't want it to get out of this office, it's not going to. And they need that, because a lot of kids don't have that anywhere at all in their life.
No, they don't. How many voices do you hear them have? And
Oh man, gosh, it is astronomical. I'm not good at high level math, but the thing is, I think more than anything else, there are so many voices, but they're also so accessible that
mm,
you have to manage what they're trying to hear as well.
yeah.
Because if I can go find anything I want in about 5 minutes on the
Oh
internet,
yeah,
even on
absolutely.
a filtered connection here at school, I could do enough to get myself fired in about 5 minutes if I look for the wrong thing. And you just take your kid and put him out there on a cell phone. He's got a computer in his pocket from here on out. He can go find anything he wants. And so you have to manage what they're trying to find more than anything else.
One of the things I hear a lot from players in this game is, I don't understand why I'm not playing.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
always think with coaches, that's a major risk, because players need to know where they stand. And I
Yes.
think coaches are oftentimes afraid to tell the truth to a player, that they're going to lose them. But yet, when they don't tell them anything, they lose them every time.
That's
And
right.
then that brings in the parents, right? And that brings in the parents who are just trying to protect them. They're just trying to be there for them. And when you've got a kid who's, let's say you've got a sophomore or junior who's not good enough right now,
Yep. Sure.
but maybe turn out to be good. How do you deal with that kind of situation?
Well, I think, one of the great things that's happened in baseball specifically is measurables, and the increase in measurables that are available. And so that helps you paint the picture. But you also, it is a fine line, because they can go find somebody who will maybe taint their measurables a little bit, and all of a sudden make them think they're a little better than or they throw harder, or they have a better spin rate, whatever it might be. But we try to attack it with measurables and kind of a development plan of like, hey,
Okay.
if little Johnny does these things, this is where he can increase, and go meet the next guy, whatever it might be. And so, but you have to have that meeting with parents too. You cannot be scared of the parent meeting. That you have to go in there and tell them, hey, look, even if you zoom them into the player evaluation meeting that you're having with the kid, like, you have to do it, and there have to be multiple touch points along the way. And the days of the coach who says, hey, it's my way, or the highway, and look, just because I said, that day's done. It's over. And if you think you're going to do it that way, it's not going to work out very well, especially in a place like this.
And you just said it, a development plan, and part of the Catalyst program that we have and that we train coaches is every single player in every organization should have a formal player development plan. And if they don't, then and a player gets frustrated, then it's on the coach.
100%.
I mean, we have learning plans, we have learning objectives, we have syllabus in school, we have career development plans and career, and we're expecting our kids just to fly blind because, and I know coaches say, well, I can't, because the other thing I hear is, well, I mean, I've got 40 kids in my program. How do I'm like, yeah, you got 40 kids in your program.
You do. I mean, if you don't like that, don't coach. Like, go find another job. Be a travel ball coach where you got 12 or 14 or whatever. But if you're a high school coach, they're all your kid. Like, whether you like it or not, that is how you need to approach it. And even if the development plan is as simple as teaching them goal setting and how to find a good goal and then hold themselves accountable to the goal, you've made them 100 times better just by doing that. Versus, hey man, just let's go work hard. And work hard. I swear they're not working harder than we are. And right down the road, Thompson just lost their first high school game of the year, 20-1. Wow. They're not working harder than us. We're probably not working harder than them. It's whether or not we are getting the most out of that kid and making him the best he can be, and that kind of thing. So if you don't have a plan in place for that kid and he doesn't know what he needs to be doing, and he's just doing it because you told him to do it, you got problems.
How much do you pull parents in on that?
A lot. I mean, a whole lot. I've never been. My philosophy on parents is simple. Like, we're in the fundraising business too, just like we are in the coaching business. And if I ask you for money, you have the right to know what my plan is for your child. And so, other people may disagree or whatever, but we pull them in. We're not going to talk playing time situations necessarily, but we're going to talk about what makes the kid a better player. Well, things we see. A thing that our principal here at Hoover did a few years ago that I thought was a great thing that we try to implement. He did it in the school. He asked the teachers in the school to make positive contact with parents prior to negative contact. It was a genius move. And so I'll just do simple stuff like I'll just text the parent of whoever and say, hey, you ought to know what your son did today in school. I saw him, help the janitor pick something up, or I saw him, help a kid, with some math homework, whatever it might be. And, create a positive rumor instead of a negative rumor is a big thing for us.
I love that. What about going to college? So, I was a one-year varsity baseball player. And, the funny thing about that is, I was a kid who played junior varsity as a junior and then got brought up to play because I grew real late. I was young. I was a late bloomer, and I was the youngest kid in my class. And, in today's game, I think I would have been bypassed by the college scouts 100 times over.
Maybe so.
And probably some high schools, too. I'd have been cut. And so I'm always have a soft spot. And I remember Butch Thompson, the head baseball coach at Auburn University, whatever it's called, down there. He made a comment at a conference I was speaking with is every player has the right to develop.
You better believe it.
And I love that. And so when you look at a kid who's going to college, right? I mean, and look, I was fortunate. I've played at LSU, and there's no way in hell I could play at LSU today. There's no way.
Not many of us that played college can play in college again at the way they're throwing right now.
Well, first of all, just the way they're throwing. I mean, you look at a guy like Dylan Cruz right now, who's going to be the pick in the Major League Draft this year.
Yeah.
He's hitting .526. I mean,
he's still, if you make a list of the best guys I've seen with USA Baseball, that's the number. Him or Brady House, the number one hitters. Brady's moving his way up in Major League Baseball or minor league baseball right now. Dylan won't take long to get to the.
Did you have Dylan in the high school ranks?
We saw he was the year I was 15U national team coach. He was on the 16U team, and so he's like a year ahead as I was moving through the first time. And just watching him hit, I was like, this is the best hitter I've ever seen in a high school situation, and it was incredible.
I played with two good ones. I played with Todd Walker and Eddie Furness, who were pretty good. And then I
Yeah.
remember seeing Alex Bregman at Hoover one time at the
Yeah.
tournament. And I was like, dude's got the fastest hands I've ever seen.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And now I watch this guy and I'm like, yeah, it's insane.
It's
just ridiculous.
That's right. That's right. But mentally, he's got it. That's the other thing. He's so even keel on everything. Yeah. He's got that part figured out.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
What is your recommendation on the college ranks for kids?
Well, my recommendation, if you're going to try and play in college, what we deal with a lot here is SEC or nothing. And there's so many good opportunities besides the SEC. And I love SEC baseball. Part of that is because the tournament is here and you get so much access to those coaches during the tournament. But there is a level for every single player. There's an opportunity for every player if you will just not be so prideful that it's Division I or bust. I think playing a college sport, I would not trade anything for playing a college. Like with everything that happened to me that you referenced at the beginning, the first people that called me when all the news broke were my college teammates, my senior class college teammates, the guys I graduated with. How can we help? What can we do? That the majority of the people at my wedding were college teammates. I'm sure it's the way with most college athletes. So if you could get over the idea that you have to go to the SEC, which the transition and everything in the SEC now, in every Power 5 school, like if you're hurt, it's over. They're going to bring another guy in, because all the transfer portal and everything. So my recommendation is to find, if you know what you want to be good at in life, what you want to do in life, find a school that's good at teaching you how to do that. And try and play there, and it works out well. Most of the time.
To that point, I tell them you can always transfer.
No doubt.
I hate to say that to coaches, but the truth of the matter is, there are certain schools that are going to get really good in the nenext couple of years of developing talent that moves up.
Yes.
And college coaches are going to have to make a decision. If I go take a risk on a high school kid who may get drafted, or a kid who's a sophomore at a non-Power 5 conference, let's say.
Yeah.
Killing it, XYZ. He's got the bat. He's got the what we used to call how to win awareness. He knows how to play the game.
That's right.
Who am I going to take? A kid who has yet to be on a college campus, doesn't know how to wash his own clothes, or a kid who knows how to be a professional and is a year or two away from playing minor league baseball? And I see that in the golf ranks at the big schools like at Bama and stuff like that, is because it's the young kids, even though they've dreamt of it, I get it. But it's like, go to a place where you can play, you can develop, you have coaches. And I think it's an amazing opportunity for coaches that are not on the top 15 programs, okay, the powerhouse, to become the absolute best at player development. And you have players see you.
Yes, I mean, and at that level, what you have to be great at, if you're not, and even if you're in the SEC, like if you're in Missouri, you have to be better at this than if you're at Texas A&M, but you have to be great at doing the most with the least. And if you can do that, it's out there how to develop kids, how to train them athletically, how to make them bigger, faster, stronger. It's all there. You just have to decide how you want to spend your money as a program. And do you want to really learn how to develop kids, or do you just want to be, for lack of a better term, the meat market approach and just keep cycling guys through there because you're a little worried about developing guys? But if you want to learn how to develop guys, the resources are there for sure.
Yeah, we had a comment that just came in. There's a lot of great programs at JUCO and NAIA and DT.
No doubt.
Oh yeah, there are. And
no doubt, I'd send a kid to play for Jeremy Sheetinger in a heartbeat. I mean, that guy, he's going to make him a better person. He's going to make him, they're going to attack life. He's going to teach them how to, treat other people. And they'll be.
I'm going to say this though. Don't you think it's a little bit of the ego of parents that won't let that happen sometimes?
I think it's almost.
Or the coaches, the private coaches on the side who are trying to.
More often than not, it would be the outside influence that has told them look, let's just, hey, Georgia Gwinnett is great, or Wallace State Junior College it sounds like a great place, but if you go to Ole Miss, I can come visit you and watch football games and get and all those things, and or what wherever, whatever.
Nobody likes to play at Ole Miss though.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. There's been a lot of good ones.
But I was like, I don't know about that. Now, come on, guys.
Yeah, right, right. No doubt, no doubt. So, it is. I think that this back to that outside influence thing for sure, for sure.
Give us a parting shot here as we're leaving about what parents and coaches can do to help develop today's kid in your perspective. I mean, you've got to, you have a year to sit out. You have a year
Yeah,
to learn, grow, and become a better coach because of it.
yeah.
It totally sucks. I'm sorry. You won't say it. AHSAA, you blew this. You blew this in every possible way. But I'm not the biggest fan, so you can't say that. I can. Um, I, you blew it, and I hope it flies back all over y'all. So there you go. I'm not being
Well.
called into the HSA convention. I know that. So, so how do you want to? What do you want people to know who can help today's player?
Well, I think you have to teach them to own it. First of all, first and foremost, it's your career, and you need to own your own development, and you need to attach yourself to people who truly care for you as a person and and talk to you about things that are real and are not trying to benefit from your success. If they talk about things using words like we and us and together, then we got a shot. If they talk about their players like that's my guys, I think we have a problem at that point. And you won't hear me ever. I've been lucky enough to be around a lot of good baseball players, but it's not. Then I'm just a part of the plan, part of the team. And so that being said, I think you have to, if you get them to own it and teach them what's real, then I think at that point, they're going to be way a lot farther down the road than these kids who just, I mean, are Snapchatting and TikToking and learning those, which there's value in all of
There's
that.
value. Yeah.
There's value in it, but what's real even on there and what's fake on there, and if you get them to own it, know what's real, and then just attack with just be relentless in attacking your own personal development. Like there aren't excuses. That's part of it. Like I appreciate what you said, but at the end of the day, I need to own that what happened to me is what
No,
happened to me, and
I get that.
but people, when they have something bad happen to them and an adverse thing happens to them, they want to throw it off on someone else. And I'm not saying in response to you, I'm just saying in general, they want to throw it off on somebody else. And you got to own it's your life. You have to own it. And if you don't own it, you're not going to develop. You're going to develop. You're just going to develop the wrong way instead of the right way, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Well, thanks for everything you do for the kids and also being a great leader in the Hoover area and in baseball. Listen, if you want to know the transfer of blame, if you want to know the impact that Mose makes, just look at that thread that went out and all the high school coaches, college coaches have to be a little careful, but the ones that are coming, they're coming in defense, and as well they should. So, Coach, honored to have you on here tonight. Thank you so much for joining Mental Game Live, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thanks for having me, man. And look, I appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate you do a lot for us too. So don't discount that one bit.
Well, thank you. And when we come back, we're going to dig in a little bit to adversity and what happens to you and what are the tools, why it happens, and what you can do with it. And then we're going to answer your questions. We'll be right back.